Welcome back, everyone. In this video, we are going to start building out some of our reliance on the front end with some kind of database. So in this course, I'm not actually going to build a database from scratch. We're going to leverage a great existing tool made by Google called Firebase. And what Firebase is going to help us do is we are going to be able to build out our sign-in page using authentication so that we can store the users and refer to those users and sign in those users whenever anyone wants to access our application. Luckily for us with Firebase, we can also leverage sign-in with Google, which is Google Sign-In, which we'll talk about after we learn about Firebase first. So what is Firebase? Firebase is a Google platform that allows you to spin up a database. It actually is a pretty comprehensive suite of hosting tools and different things for your website, but the primary usage is that it helps us leverage some kind of database. That's the most important thing, so that we do not have to set our own up. So what I want you to do is I want you to go to firebase.google.com or click the Firebase link inside of your resources folder. Once you're inside of Firebase, I want you to click Go to Console up in the right corner. What this will do is this will take you to the list of all of your existing Firebase projects. I already have one because we've had this application course now out for almost 2.5 years by the time of this recording. So what you're going to do though is let's make a brand new one. I'll make a new one with you. I want you to click this Add Project. And here, I want you to name your project whatever you want. I'm just going to name mine Crown Clothing DB. So here, this will be my project name, but down here, you'll notice that there's this unique identifier for your project. So this pretty much just allows Firebase to say that once you instantiate up your instance of Firebase, this is your Firebase platform's unique ID. So whatever it generates, you can just keep it, or you can name it something else if you want. But here I'm just going to say Crown Clothing DB. And then I'm going to hit continue. Next step, they're going to ask if you want Google Analytics. I don't want Google Analytics because this actually makes it a little bit more complicated. I also don't have a Google Analytics account that I want to tie to this project, but you can do so if you want to with your Firebase. But honestly, for the purpose of this project and for this course, we're not going to touch it. So from here, we just create the project, and now let's just wait for our project to finish building. Okay, so our new project is ready, and what you're going to do is you're going to hit continue. This will now take you into your actual Crown Clothing database, or whatever you named your Firebase instance. And there's two main things that I want you to focus on inside of your project. One is authentication, and one is these two database options. We are going to use Firestore database because this is the newest instance. Real-time database is their old database. So don't worry about that, just ignore it. We're not going to use much storage or hosting. We might use some functions, but that'll be later. We won't use machine learning. These are all just a different suite of tools that comes with Firebase. But we really just want to leverage Firestore database and the authentication. So we have this instance now set up, but before we start using it, there's a couple things we need to do. We need to actually allow our React application to leverage Firebase and Firestore and authentication. And to do that, we need to install the Firebase library. So in order to install Firebase, let's go back to our terminal. Inside of our project, we are going to type yarn add Firebase. Now, at the time of this recording, the version of Firebase that is going to install is 9.6.6. Google does like to change up Firebase every once in a while, but generally speaking, they're always backwards compatible, meaning that whatever you learn here is also going to be largely compatible in the newer versions. Maybe the UI that you've seen changes, or maybe the docs change a little bit, but largely speaking, the high-level concepts of Firebase is all going to be the exact same. And it's really important that I teach you these high-level concepts. It's also important that you learn these high-level concepts, because unfortunately, especially in React and with the front-end world, things constantly change. Libraries change, A couple years is a lifetime inside of the front-end world. So you need to really be able to understand these high-level concepts so that when the libraries change, you still largely know what's going to happen. You might just update the syntax a little bit, follow some new patterns and conventions that they believe will leverage and give you greater capability. But generally speaking, the most important thing to understand is these high-level concepts. So now that we have Firebase installed, what we're going to do is we're just going to go into our application and just set up a quick route for sign-in. So inside of routes, I'm going to make a new folder called sign-in. And inside of this folder, let's make a new file called signin.component.jsx. And this is just going to be a very simple component. So I'm going to call it sign-in. It's a functional component that just returns a div. And inside the div is just an h1 that says sign-in page, just so that we know that our routing is working. Remember, it's always important that in order to minimize your errors, just code a bit at a time. Start with what you know, make sure it validates and works, and then continue. So here, let's duplicate our route path, and the path should go to sign in. And the element that we want to render is going to be our sign-in component. So here, I'm just going to say import sign-in from routes sign-in component. And then instead of rendering shop, I want to render sign-in. So this, of course, is nested inside of our root level route. So it will be /signin, as we know, just like we saw with home and just like we see with shop. And once we have our sign-in, what we also need to add is a way to get there. So inside of your navigation component, I want you to duplicate this second link and inside say that it goes to sign in. Actually, let's use the dash. I kind of like this syntax a little better. So let's go back to our app.js and switch this route to sign-in like this. And then let's make sure that we say that it's a sign-in link. And now let's verify this works. So we've added a link that takes us to /signin, and we also included a route that points to the path sign-in and renders our sign-in element. So we're just rehashing everything we've done so far and learned so far about navigating in React DOM. So let's go back to our application in our browser, and we see that we now have a sign-in button inside of our nav link. If we click it, we see that we're also rendering our sign-in page. So everything is working as we expect. Sign-in is working. And now what we need to do is actually bring in Firebase, the library that we downloaded, into our application and write some code to leverage this library, but primarily leverage this library so we can actually access this instance that we have of Firebase that we've also set up. So in the next video, I'm going to talk about how we do that and also get a better understanding of a lot of these external tools and how these libraries that we're using actually connect with them and understanding the better practices on the front-end web. I'll see you in the next video.